Hey guys, Pilvi here and welcome back for another video. So I wanted to bring a new concept here for learning music producers on YouTube, and it is quite simple. I'm going to make a drop in a certain music style, and after this a pro producer in that specific music style is going to come check my project and basically improve everything that needs to be improved for the drop to sound better. The point here is to have a really concrete example on what you need to do exactly to go from an average sounding drop to a very pro sounding drop. Basically what a pro producer would do to make it sound awesome. The idea is that for every episode we'll have a new music style and a new pro producer. As you probably saw in the title of the video already, today's style is progressive house and the pro producer is Severman. If you don't know him, that's what he does. Pretty good. I don't know you, but I am super excited, so let's go. Alright guys, we are now with Severman. Hello Severman, welcome to the channel.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me. Looking forward to do this video together with you and can't wait.
Yeah, alright, so I quickly made a little progressive house drop in like 2-3 hours and let's listen to it.
Let's go. Yeah, I really like the melody that you have here. I think it's catchy, it's good. Chords and bass progression are good as well. What I was thinking is maybe we could change the fourth chord in order to maybe make the whole progression a bit smoother or to make it work more with the melody that we have. Overall sound selection is good, I think. Mixing wise, I think you have a lot of mid frequencies and high frequencies, but there isn't much bass yet. So there's no real weight to the sound yet, if that makes sense. So I think I'm just gonna start with the bass. What I wanted to try out is changing that fourth bass note that you have. I think A sharp would work better. I honestly prefer this. I think it flows better, or sounds better together with the melody, in my opinion. Obviously, we also need to change the chord notes real quick. Yeah. Awesome, now we got the new, like the adjusted chords. Yeah, I think that works much better with the melody. Okay, now I'm gonna try to add a bit more bass overall to the mix. So let me check the kick and bass that you have.
So for the mid bass, actually what I did for the mid bass and sub in terms of mixing is the bass, I cut the sub frequencies, and then in the sub I cut the mid bass frequencies so that they both sit in their own space. And then I also sidechain both of them to the kick. The kick, I haven't done much on it, I just have an EQ to shape the sound. And as well, I thought as well, like I added this top kick because I thought that this one was missing a bit, or I don't know, I wasn't cutting through the mix enough, so that's why I just added this very short transient kick for the top part. And yeah, that was my thinking behind the mid bass, sub and kick.
Okay, sounds good. Having a separate top kick on top of your actual kick always helps to make it cut through the mix more, so that's always a good thing to do. So what I thought with this particular kick, it doesn't have that much bass. It's like I can hear the, but I don't really think it has enough body, so I'm just gonna try to do it with some EQing. Okay, what I would actually do is I would probably just pick another sample here. Okay, let's try these. Yeah, listening to these kick drums, you immediately notice how these have more body to them. Kind of like this one. It's quite long. What I usually like to do is to shorten it a bit if it's that long. So what I like to do is I like to set this one to generic. So I usually shorten it halfway like that. So you have like one half between each kick, like the first half sort of for the kick, and then the second half you would have all that space for the sub bass, because you always want to make sure that you don't have kick and sub bass playing together. Also, now let's have a listen to that one with the kick drum that you had.
Definitely more power.
Yeah, let's just check it out how this sounds. So yeah, make sure to always pick the right sounds from the beginning, of course. I also think we can add more sub to our bass line. I'm just gonna crank the volume so that we can hear it. So what I thought was that the sub can definitely be more aggressive. Having a sine wave like you have always works, but sometimes what you can try is maybe adding a bit of distortion or saturation in order to add some fatness. What I also like to do sometimes with the sub bass, if you're using a clean sub bass, a clean sine wave like that, is to clone the layer. And then with the second sub bass layer, what I like to do is I like to put that one an octave up like that. And then you basically cover a bigger range with the sub bass. I think you have a high cut on there. Let me fix that.
So it's okay if it's goes a bit more on the mid-bass frequencies?
It kind of depends on what you want to do. Sometimes I let my mid bass take up the space down to 80 hertz, and then I have the sub only below 80 hertz. And sometimes I have my sub going up to 100, 140, 160 hertz, and then I have the frequencies above 140, 160 hertz for the mid basses. So now the second layer is definitely too loud. You want to make sure that the lower layer is the more present one. So what I usually like to do is I like to reduce the volume of the second one by 6 or 12 dBs.
Yeah, that's clever tricks.
Then we could maybe add something like this, sort of a roll off, to make sure that the higher note isn't as loud as those lower ones. And this is a bit controversial. Some people low cut their sub bass and kick drum. I'm not a person who likes to do that, so I'm just gonna get rid of the low cut.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure other people will have heard the same. Everyone say, cut your lower frequencies under 30 hertz, they're useless, they just bring rumble, but you don't do that.
I don't do that at all. I don't even do it on the master. Low cutting in that area in like 20 hertz, 30 hertz is actually pretty dangerous. So don't low cut sounds. It's not necessary. I mean, don't low cut bass sounds, of course. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, for the sidechain, what I would do for the sub bass, I would take a curve that takes out more of the sound. For instance, what I would pick for the sub bass is something like this, maybe even a bit more like that. What I just said with the kick drum was for the kick, I try to have this space here, the first half only for the kick, and then the second half only for the sub. Can do a little bit of mastering maybe. That's also something that I like to do. I actually have my master effects on from the beginning.
Okay, interesting.
So before I actually mix my sounds, I already have my master effects on, because this allows me to choose the right volumes of my sounds from the beginning. Because if you're trying to keep some headroom, maybe 6 dBs of headroom, that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah, that's
and then at the end you want to boost your sound. You're always sort of guessing a bit. Like you keep that headroom in order to boost the sound at the end, but you don't know if you can actually boost it that much.
So wait, how do you know if you kept enough headroom?
Well, I never
you don't do that.
leave any headroom in my tracks. I don't leave headroom.
My god, it's been 3 times already that I'm like...
So what I like to do is I like to put the limiter from the beginning. What we can do is we can boost the gain, of course. Awesome, now we already have a bit more volume on the master, and this also helps to, it kind of glues everything together, which is always good for EDM. You want to go for that loud sound. Okay, let me check the melody and chords once again. Okay, what I did was I opened this EQ on the master, not because I want to change the EQing on the master. I'm just opening this one to have a visual representation over the frequencies that we have. So you could obviously also use span or any other analyzer for that. What we see here is that there's a little bit of a fall off. This is also what I was hearing a bit. I thought like maybe the leads lack a bit of that high end, and this is sort of the proof, if that makes sense. Because you don't want to have such a fall off here at 9,000 hertz.
Yeah, so for the melody, I have 5 layers. The first one is just a high piano sound. And then I went and chose some presets from Severman. Yeah, and for the processing, I removed all the low frequencies. And now that I see this, I did remove the high frequencies, which I have no exact reasons of why I did this. So Yeah, that's definitely a mistake. Then I pushed here. I don't really remember why, but I was just trying to shape the sound however I thought it would sound good. Then I compressed them a little bit. I did the sound goodizer because it sounded good. Then some distortion. Another parametric EQ, I think I removed one frequency that was like hurting my ear. Then some reverb, delay, wider, and then the sidechain as well.
Yeah, the processing chain looks good. You have everything that you need to have on the lead bus. I think we had this high cut here.
Yeah.
You have the high cut at 8,700 hertz. Yeah, doing something like that will of course kill the high end. What I do is I set my high cut to 16k hertz. If you maybe want to reduce, of course, the high end a bit, what you could do is you could maybe do it like that, sort of lower the high end a bit like that, but I wouldn't like apply like a straight cut like you had before. Well, this already sounds much better with the high cut at 16k hertz. And with the chords, you don't have as much high end in there as with the leads, which is totally fine. With the chords, you don't need as much high end as in the leads. Also with the bass, you can definitely remove some of those highs, which you already did. Then let's also take a look at the effect sounds again.
Yeah. So for the drums, except the kick, I had a clap, some rides. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I panned one a bit on the left and the other a bit on the right to just give it some space a little bit. Then some crashes. And then I have some fills. Then on the second part of the drop, I introduced this cymbal loop shaker. And then I have typical downlifters, sweeps that I sidechain. An uplifter. And then I have an ambience that I sidechain, which is a little bit vocal. And then the crowd noise as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I think nothing really here that I have to change. I would do probably the same stuff. So yeah, it always makes sense to like add clap and a ride. These add some more high end to the drop as well. Like these elements glue everything a bit more together. Then also you have a crash. These crashes are also good to add some more energy to the drop. What you're doing here, you're kind of repeating those.
Yeah.
I also like to sort of repeat them like you have.
Okay.
I think this creates some extra energy on the drop, which is really cool. Yeah, you have some uplifters. These downlifters, these are actually really important because these are things that maybe overlooked quite easily because you don't really hear them in the mix. But these are actually really important to also glue everything together and to make the drop sound finished. Just to show you what difference these make, we could mute all the downlifters. Maybe also these.
Yeah.
Sounds good, but what you might think is there's something missing. It's like 5% to finish up the drop.
Yeah, definitely more energetic with it.
Yeah, I think we definitely have a improved result here. It definitely already sounds better than the initial version that we had.
Yeah, thank you, Severman. This was so helpful. There was definitely a few things that you said that it was like mind-blowing for me and probably for a lot of beginners out there, where it's like, oh, but we've seen this on social media, and it's like, no, actually you don't. You need to do that. So I think that's where it's like so important to have like pro advices like this. So yeah, I really hope it was super useful for you, and thank you, Severman, for joining me on this video.
Yeah, I really enjoyed doing the video with you. I hope it was helpful. I hope we could give some value for other upcoming producers. One more comment from my side. I could only listen to the mono signal, so I couldn't talk or I couldn't give any advice on stereo placement. So yeah, thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it.
All right, well, that was super interesting. I learned so much. Thank you, Severman. I hope that you learned so much as well and that it was really helpful for you. I really hope that this video gave you some insights on how you can take your sound to a pro sounding level. If you enjoyed this concept, feel free to let us know in the comments and I'll get started on the second episode. But in the meantime, enjoy the final result and I'll see you next week.